everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Raceface TV. My name is Tom Baker, and we are coming to you this week exclusively from the Race City USA PMN studios in Mooresville, North Carolina. Our usual host, Rod Wortham, has the evening off, so yours truly will be carrying you through the next half hour or so. We've got two very special guests to talk to. For those of you not familiar with the 24th annual Bojangles Summer Shootout series at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Legends and Bandoleros, it is the largest series of its kind in the country, and we've been featuring several of the racers from that series throughout the last few weeks on the program, and we've got a couple of more here this evening to present to you. Matt Davey joins us first. Matt, known as Mad Dog, and actually, Matt, you might say, is a graduate now of the Summer Shootout Series because you are now racing in the Allison Legacy Series, correct?
Yes, I currently am racing in the Allison Legacy Series.
Talk a little bit about, for those who aren't familiar with you, talk about your background a little bit. How'd you get started racing? Where are you from? How old are you? All of that good stuff.
I'm originally from Riverside, California, and I recently moved to Arizona, and now I live here in Mooresville, North Carolina. I recently just turned 18 years old. I go to Lake Norman High School, and I started racing back when I was 5 in go-karts. My mom and dad got me into racing. My mom did. She had this program going at her work, so that was pretty cool. And then as I worked my way up from go-karts to mini-max road tags, in 2009 we decided to race Bandoleros because I wanted to pursue more of my racing career.
Now, you went from two-cycle go-karts to mini-max road tags, or talk just a little bit about that period of your career.
I ran kid karts for about.
Okay.
So I ran kid karts for about 4 or 5 years, and then 2007 and 2008 I moved up to Rotax Burrell mini karts and raced the Rotax Series Challenge back in the West Coast Series in California and Arizona.
What were some of the courses that you raced on out there?
I ran Moran Raceway and Adams Kart Track and Paris Kart Track in California.
Okay, and talk a little bit about your success in the go-karts.
I've had a lot of success in the go-karts. We finished. I have speed schools. I graduated from there as a kid kart graduate, and we won a lot of track championships. We had one race where I felt really succeeded in, where we started about late in the field, about 20th position. We finished 9th at a track called Buffalo Bills, which is really cool because it was behind the entire amusement park, so that was awesome.
Nice. That sounds like fun. Now, you eventually moved to the Bandoleros, and you moved here to Mooresville. Talk about how that decision came about and what went into the planning of that.
Once we got into Bandoleros in 2009, I ran out in I-10 Speedway in California and Havish 95 Speedway in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and there wasn't much racing back there because we had to wait like an extra 2 months for the next race, and so we decided to move to the East Coast. So we moved to Mooresville, North Carolina in 2012. Because my dad wanted to pursue more in his pilot career, and there was more racing out here, so we decided to come out here to pursue my racing career. And about a year and a half later, I heard about the Summer Shootout, and that's when I started running it.
Okay, so you started your first actual taste of the Bandolero racing over here was at the Summer Shootout. That's a pretty big stage.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was really cool to come out here. Well, we did run Concord a few times, but I didn't like the track that much. But then
that's a tight quarter mile over there
really
for sure.
Tight.
It's a bullring.
Yeah, it was really tight. But I first heard about the shootout in 2012. Me and my mom came out here and went to the track when my dad was working. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I want to race this. Can we race this? So I decided to talk to my dad, and so we talked about it, and that's when we found out about Mike Gordon and all the teams out there that we got in there, and we decided to run the shootout for 4 years.
So talk a little bit about what it's like to run the Summer Shootout with a Bandolero. I mean, you've got several thousand people in the grandstand. It's a televised series, even though it's kind of in digest form, but it is on national TV now on MAV TV, and of course also airs live on Legends Nation as well. Talk a little bit about what it's like to race a bando there and what that has taught you that has helped you to transition into the Allison Legacy Series.
I run the bando at Charlotte in the shootout. It's really intense to run it. I mean, it's a lot of great competitors out there, and I mean, you're racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You've had past champions of NASCAR race there, and it is a pretty tough track to learn. It took me a while to figure it out, but after 4 years of running it it turned out to be really good because as you learn the track and know what the car is doing on the track, it would help you in your next car because from me racing bandos to the big step to racing legacy cars is a different change for me because I had to learn how to shift, how to talk on the radios because in the bando it's a momentum car. There's no front suspension, so you drive those cars unlike a legend. So I mean, it's a pretty intense series. I mean, we get great crowds out there, and I love how it's on TV. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And of course, you've had a lot of success over the years there. You certainly had great speed, but it seemed like it was just a snake bit sort of scenario for you for a while. But last year, everything finally came together for you. You had a really big last season in the bandos.
Yeah, last year was a lot of fun in the summer show last year. It was my final year in my bando. I've ran that bando for 8 years, and I wanted to go out in style. And so I decided to my dad and Mike Gordon that I want to do the shootout one last time and see if I can get the championship. And so throughout all 10 rounds, we did really good. We finished all top 3 positions except for round 8. We ended up 6th. I ended up getting 3 wins with a 2.5 average finish, and it was really amazing because after round 10, my teammate Matt Emery won, and that was really amazing. So all I had to do was finish third or better. So I come in the pits, and my mom standing there, my dad, and it was a emotional day for me and my family.
Oh, I'm sure it was. I mean, you guys have sacrificed a lot coming from the West Coast to the East Coast and, having to just struggle to sort of get through each season. And kind of, it's almost for you, it was a week to week sort of thing, budget wise, I know. And, was really hard just to keep going sometimes, but you made it through and ended up winning the championship.
Yeah, it was really tough at first because 2013 was my first year, and we spent a lot of money on parts, but it was all worth it because over the 4 years running the shootout, I mean, I learned a lot of experience from it. Great competitors out there. It was real tough. My dad had sacrificed his job to keep me racing for his money. He quit flying at an early age, and he decided to become a flight instructor. My mom's been working really hard to keep us going in my racing career. We weren't much as a family back in the days. We didn't have the money that we want to have, and we slowly just kept on going with all the sacrifice my parents made. And I thank them for that, and all the sacrifices that just my whole family's made to keep me going.
Okay, let's talk about the legacy car now. You go from a race car in the Bandolero that's basically only half suspended, where the back end of those things has suspension. It's kind of, I call it the Reese's peanut butter car. You kind of took a go-kart, smashed it into a race car. Now that they're great training cars, but it's very unique to learn them and to drive them. Now you go into a legacy car that's really sort of a scaled down version of a stock car, right, which something much closer to, for example, a late model stock that you might, move up to that is your next step. What's it been like transitioning into the legacy? What surprised you the most? And talk a little bit about your season so far.
It was a little tough to transition to a legacy car because I had never learned how to drive stick shift. So my dad's been teaching me how to drive, and I practiced on racing in the late model. But I think the toughest part for me in the legacy car is talking on the radio because I was never used to that. I was so concentrated in the race and the buttons on the steering wheel, which is even harder to find it. But I try and stay concentrated as much as I can in the race. I got a great spotter, and my dad's on the radio too. And these cars, you have to drive them. I mean, there's no momentum on them. I mean, you can draft out these cars, but they're really fun to drive. It's a great program to get started in.
You've been racing at tracks like Myrtle Beach, which is a big, fast half mile.
Yeah, that's my favorite track.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Myrtle Beach Speedway, I think, is one of my favorite tracks. First time out there, came home 4th in the race, was running 3rd, got a little bit loose, but, we came home 4th place with my teammate finishing 1st and, my teammate finished in 3rd, which is really good.
Well, before we wrap this up, I want to give you an opportunity, first of all, to talk about who helps you make all this happen. And then secondly, what's the next step for you, or what do you hope will be your next step?
Who makes it happen is my mom and dad, my whole family, and Chris Woods and Christy Woods, and they helped me a lot in this series. The Allison Lake series is a great program to get in, and I love it very much. I got to thank my family for sacrificing all they did, and Woody for giving me a great car, fast car. We finished in the last 6 races, I finished top 5 with 6 rookie races. And for my plans for next season or the next 2 seasons after, we plan on going to run some late models, hopefully get me in the Kane and E Series.
Well, we certainly would look forward to that, Matthew. You've done a great job in your transition to the legacy cars, and certainly it's been fun to watch you kind of grow up over here since you've come over from the West Coast. So That's Matthew Davey, a young man whose family actually moved from west to east in order to give him a better shot at success, climbing up the racing ladder. And we will have Jordan Black when we come back here on Raceface TV, so stick around.
Welcome to Raceface Brand Development. You might be asking, what is Raceface Brand Development? We are all about helping young drivers get noticed while creating a brand. If your branding isn't part of your strategy and you're looking for a competitive advantage in the marketplace, I encourage you to reach out to us at Raceface Brand Development and let us provide you a free consultation on how we can help further your driver's career.
81% of consumers search online before even setting foot in a store. We help you create a strong foundation for your digital reputation. We help build your online presence to improve search engine rank and make sure your business information is correct across the web. You could do all of this on your own, but why would you spend more than 300 hours a year working on this? You have a business to run. Save time and put our software to work for you.
We have a simple mission: build champions. And we do this by offering you the opportunity to learn from some of the top individuals in the motorsports industry. And parents, this course is not just for young drivers, but for you as well. Our 8-week online course will cover marketing and branding, how to build a fan base, how to use social media effectively, how to master the media, and much, much more. So if you are looking for a competitive advantage, then Raceface University is for you. We look forward to making you one of our future champions.
Welcome back to Raceface TV. We're glad to have you on board with us tonight. My name is Tom Baker, and we are broadcasting exclusively from the Race Chaser PMN studios in Mooresville, North Carolina. Our usual host, Rod Wortham, has the night off, so looking forward to talking to this next gentleman. He is two-time defending Pro Series champion of the Bojangles Summer Shootout Series, Jordan Black. And Jordan, it seems like it wasn't that long ago that we were having a conversation about, gosh, you've been so close, so close, so close. Now you have 2 championships. And what, 19 years old now, or still 18?
No, yeah, 19 years
19.
old.
Out of Florida.
Yep, out of Florida.
2 championships now. Pretty amazing, right?
2 championships. Yeah, I've been running pro. This will be my 5th year. So 2013, 14, I came close to a couple wins, but I never sealed the deal. And then finally in 15, came out of the gate, won round 1. And, you know, once you figure out how to win, it kind of all starts rolling for you. So, yeah, you know, after that, we just kept the momentum rolling, and here we are 2 championships later.
I've always said that that's exactly what it is. It's momentum. Once you get that first win, there's just something that happens inside your head. And it's hard to quantify it, but it's almost like just that extra little bit of confidence, maybe.
Yeah, you know, and it's the same thing each year. Until you get your first win, your confidence is a little down. You're not really sure. You're not operating on all 8 cylinders.
Right.
So, you know, to get the first win out of the way early in the year, like Green did this year, is huge, or like I did in 2015. You know, because that shows you, hey, you can win against this field. You have a good enough car.
and gives you that confidence boost that you need. And yeah, it kind of just lifts the weight off your shoulders and lets you breathe a little bit more. And when you don't have a lot of pressure and you can go out there and do what you know how to do, usually stuff works out a lot better for you.
Talk a little bit about your background for those in our audience who aren't real familiar with you. How did you get started in racing? How old were you? And kind of give us a little synopsis of your career up to now.
Well, my cousins actually used to junior drag race, and I really wanted a junior drag race really bad. I was like 7 years
Oh, wow.
old. Yeah, I wanted to go in a straight line at first. I was 7 years old. They were doing bracket racing. Unfortunately, there was nowhere to do it in Florida because I'm from Orlando, so there was nowhere to do it in the Orlando area. So we ended up booking a test drive in a quarter midget at New Smyrna Speedway in the infield, and I did that for my 8th birthday. And 2 months later, I had a car. So I ran quarter midgets until I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Won a couple of championships, set pole at a grand national event. Had a lot of success in that, and then started running legend cars in 2012.
So you went from a quarter midget directly into the Legends cars.
Yep.
Talk about that transition, because that's quite a change from one vehicle to the next in the way that they handle and kind of what they need from a driver.
Yeah, it is, because in quarter midgets, you're just wide open the whole time. So you get into a legend car, you got a brake pedal, a clutch.
Exactly.
Never used a clutch before. Plus it's a weird transmission because you've always been familiar, growing up around cars, familiar with the 6-speed or 5-speed transmissions. But then it's just a motorcycle engine where you can downshift to go down and upshift to just
straight line
back.
gearbox instead of the H pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's completely foreign to a 12 or 13-year-old kid who's jumping straight into it. And, your first instinct is to get around the track, with your foot in the gas the whole time. So that was a big learning curve for me. But my first test in the car, I was actually, it was at Punta Gorda Speedway down in Southwest Florida. And I was actually, I think, about half a second off.
Okay.
Previous week winner. So we weren't that far off, but, I had about 60 laps. But it's just getting to learn how the brake affects the race car. Because that's really, once you get into a legend car, that's where the brakes come into play. So this is where you learn how your braking sets up your entry to the corner, how it sets up your rotation through the center and stuff like that. So that was just really what I had to catch on to.
And now you've kind of mastered it to the point where you're a consistent upfront runner in the pro division, and kind of a different division this year, the pro, compared to maybe past years where you had a ton of seasoned veterans. This year, you've got a lot of drivers who are racing in it for the first or maybe the second year. So it's kind of a younger crop. And then there's you as kind of the elder statesman almost of the division. What's that like for you to kind of realize, hey, I may be one of the oldest guys in this class, and, I've been doing this 5 years now, and you got all these kids like Daniel Wilk and even, Austin, who are trying to make their mark in the class.
It's a lot of fun because, I saw these kids. I watch Austin in Abando. I watch Austin in Young Lions.
Right.
And, it's cool to me because now, especially with Austin, because Austin has impressed me a lot this year.
Yeah, he's done a great job.
He's run very strong. So it's a lot of fun for me to race against someone like that because, not so long ago, I was that kid in Young Lions who was looking at the pros thinking, wow, if I'm ever that good, I'll be so lucky. I'll be so happy with how far I've come. And I'm sure Austin feels that way too now. He's kind of in the same position that I was in 2015. He got, a couple wins, and me and him are definitely the top 2 cars in pro right now. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun, just teaching these kids really how to race because when they're in the pro division, if they go any further in the racing career, this is where they're going to learn the fundamentals of how to race people and, like I said, just where to use the brakes.
It's a higher level.
Right, exactly.
It's a big difference going from a young lion or even the semi-pro division to the pros.
Yeah, exactly, because, in pros, we move each other without wrecking all the time.
Yeah.
So that doesn't happen much in semi-pro or young lion. So, you can mess up one corner and fall back to 7th or 8th. And, if there's 15 cars in the field, you've probably got 6 or 7 of them that are at least running O's. So, or below teens. So for that, There's a lot of competition. It's a big step, and I'm impressed with Daniel Wilf as well because he's done a great job.
He really has.
Given the equipment that he's in, and the lack of experience that he actually has.
Well, we had Daniel on the show a few weeks ago, and another example of a young man with just such a tiny little budget to go there and race with, and it's just him and his dad basically trying to kind of play David against all the Goliaths. But I've talked to Daniel every week, and Daniel is just really excited about the fact that they decided to make the move at 13 up to the pro division, because he feels like even though he may not be finishing as high as he might in the semi-pro or maybe the Young Lion, he's learning so much more racing against the caliber of competition that you guys present to him.
Right, and let's go back to 2013. It was my first year in pro.
Mm-hmm.
We did very well at internationals, finished second in points, and then went to shootout and just got our butts kicked. Like we finished third one race. We led a bunch of laps.
Right.
Race, and ended up getting moved with 2 to go by Hemrick. And man, do I think about that almost every day. Like that is the
still haunts you, does it?
That is
after
the
all these
worst
years
feeling in the world, because here I am, 14 years old, walking away from Daniel Hemrick, have the fastest car. I'm in the lead, which I've never been in the lead of a pro race, so I'm freaking out. And a caution comes out with 2 to go, and I just get completely schooled. Like they took me to school, man. So, that's something that Daniel has probably already learned, and that's a huge step for him, because you learn these lessons, these individual lessons, and if you can hold on to them, you can use them later in your career against someone, when it comes down to a situation like that.
That's really a very interesting thought pattern. Now, at your age, it would seem like you should be in a full-size car, and I know that you're trying to go in that direction. What can you tell us at this point about what your next step is going to be, or what would you like your next step to be? What's life after Legends look like, and when do you possibly see that happening for Jordan Black?
It's hard to say right now. Obviously, we've been hooked up with YSEC for a while now, testing the sports cars. We don't know when that is going to come to fruition. So, right now the door's kind of open for me. Of course, if there's an opportunity to drive something, bigger with more horsepower and 4 slicks on it, that'd be awesome. So, I'd love to see what I can do in a late model. And we've been in talks with a couple of teams, and the opportunity is definitely presenting itself. It's just a matter of finding the funding to go ahead and go do it.
Familiar story.
Yeah. So, and everybody's in that boat. Most everybody who's racing is looking for funding. So, I'm not going to sit here and act like, that it's the end of the world. But, it's definitely a challenge, but it's a lot of fun because, you get to go out and realize how much you actually want this to be your career. When you're in a position where your back's against the wall, you really, when you do make it, or if you do make it, it feels a lot better than just paying your way through. So, that's kind of the direction we're going. The opportunity's there. We need to find a little bit of funding, and if we do that, then the door's wide open.
Well, and in the meantime, you're certainly off to another great start in the 24th annual edition of the Bojangles Summer Shootout Series. You've gotten the last 2 wins there. Seems like the last couple of years you kind of wait till almost the midpoint of the series, then you get hot. And so you've got the last 2, rounds 4 and 5. So now it looks like the momentum's kind of in your court a little bit. Be interesting to see what Austin Green has for you over the next few weeks to see if he can kind of take that back.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about me getting hot towards the middle of the season, but it feels like it takes me a couple weeks to find out what I want in my car and get comfortable with it. And I found the feel that I wanted last week, and that's why we came out of the box so quick. But Austin's definitely going to be tough competition. He's 16 years old, but man, the kid is good. I mean, he has improved so much from last year, and he led so many laps yesterday without messing up, and that's hard to do, especially with, let's just say, a 2-time championship breathing down your neck.
Yep.
So that's impressive. You got Caden Honeycutt, who's also impressed me at
Out
what
of
national.
Texas, coming
Yeah.
up from Texas, yeah.
And then you got Carson Ferguson, who is kind of in the same boat as I am, a seasoned veteran.
Yep.
He's in a good car. So, it just seems like the luck hasn't been on their side. But, if the luck changes for them, they're definitely a player in the race. So, we'll just have to see how it all plays out.
Well, we'll give you about 30 seconds here to thank anyone that you need to who helps you make it happen, Jordan.
I just can't thank Stephen Ross, Ben Ross, Dakota Baggett, Jared Irvin. I can't thank all the guys at the shop, man. The car that we've had the last 2 weeks has just been incredible. I also can't thank Neil Holder and Kim Holder enough for the opportunity. They let me driver coach their kids, and I'm just having a blast this year helping the younger generations of race car drivers come through and kind of teach them everything that I know. So I'm just having a lot of fun and staying busy.
That's Jordan Black, and both Jordan and Matthew Davey are two drivers to keep an eye on racing up here in the Carolinas right now. Jordan, of course, will be running the rest of the races in the Bojangles Summer Shootout Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And Matthew, you can find him running in the Allison Legacy Series this season, looking for his first win in that division. That'll about wrap it up for a very fast-paced edition of Raceface TV tonight. Want to thank Rod Wortham for the opportunity to sit in as the host. Look forward to rejoining Rod for next week's program. Of course, don't forget Raceface TV and also RacefaceBrandDevelopment.com and RacefaceUniversity.com. And we look forward to being right back here with you again next week for another edition of Raceface TV. For all the folks from Raceface, I'm Tom Baker. So long for now.